2 days out from Christmas and it's bumper to bumper on the Pacific Highway. All it took was a two-car praying south of John Renshaw Drive and northbound traffic was banked up for kilometres. Further north, plenty of congestion through Coffs Harbour and even bigger delays were felt at Maxville and Woodburn. With so many motorists on the road, police have a simple message.
Fatigue is a killer. Speed is a killer. Drink driving is a killer.
A week into Operation Safe Arrival, double demerits are now in force until January 2nd. Already speeding offences are up. The advice: manage fatigue and reduce distractions. Driver revivers, the perfect place for a rest. But for the state's busiest at Beresfield, this summer is the end of the road.
I think it's important to just take a break every now and then when you're driving. It's a lot of people out there on the roads.
We always look, and if it is open, we come in.
Work to widen the road means the Morisset Lions Club's iconic stop will be closed.
We've been here for 20 to 25 years, so we do need to leave it here.
The RMS have offered two replacement sites, one on the Hunter Expressway at Buchanan and another down the road at Kinta Drive. But according to the Lions Club, neither was suitable. Authorities are now looking at fatigue hotspots just north of Newcastle for an alternative site.
The bottom line is it must be local, close to that area and be safe and visible to all motorists.
Mike Lorrigan, NBN News.
The Christmas countdown is on, and today Hunter shoppers were on a mission. Bustling with bags, some came armed with a plan.
Write a list before you come in.
While others tackled the shops for the first time.
I have not started until 9 o'clock and now I'm finished. I just bought the last thing for my two little kids. I do it every year, so I think I'm a professional last-minute shopper.
A little crazy, but I think I'm done.
The region's two largest shopping centres have been brimming with people all week, extended trading hours helping cater to increasing demand.
They provide shoppers with the ability to do their last-minute shopping at a time that suits them and I guess get some peace and quiet while doing it if you do take advantage of those later hours.
At Charlestown Square, yesterday's midnight closing time proved a winner. It saw a record crowd of 85,000 people.
That's a lot of people through the centre in one day, and surprisingly our car parks are handling it really well.
Another busy day is expected tomorrow for Christmas Eve, especially at the supermarkets. But it's Boxing Day that retailers are really excited for. This will be the second year Hunter shops will open on the 26th.
We are expecting thousands of people through with some really great discounts up to 70% off, so we've got lots of extra staff on site.
It took a while for people to sort of get on to Boxing Day. We're not familiar with that, but this year we're anticipating that everyone's very aware that the sales will be on Boxing Day and the numbers will be out in their droves.
Renee Feder, NBN News.
Lifeline says its phones always run hot this time of year.
Look, it's supposed to be a joyful time of year. A lot of us look forward to it, but for some it's not.
For those living with mental health issues, the holidays can be incredibly stressful, and the organisation expects thousands to reach out to its helpline over the next week alone.
That could be helping people standing on the edge of a cliff, helping somebody in a domestic violence situation. We're there for them 24/7.
The service's advice is for people to be kind to themselves over Christmas, while also being mindful of others.
Reach out to somebody, particularly if you know somebody is struggling or hurting.
While many get lost in the rush of shopping centres and the commercial side of Christmas, we're being urged to remember those who are suffering in silence and encourage them to reach out.
Talk to somebody. Start talking is so important. You can call Lifeline on 13 11 14. We are there all the time and we are there to listen.
Mike Lorrigan, NBN News.
Jack Stockwell isn't someone Nathan Brown probably expected to start pre-season with the Knights. Out of favour, he's also been unable to find another home, now appears set to see out 2017.
Not too much. As I said, I've just been focusing on my training personally, what I've got to work on here at the club, and what happens happens. So you can't really go into much detail about it. Like I don't look into it too much, mate. It's just speculation.
He's training really well. The truth be told, yeah, he's certainly putting a foot forward to make some good progress.
Stockwell will have his hands full breaking back into the Knights' first grade side. Regardless of the awkward situation he finds himself in, Stockwell knows he must keep fighting.
Good competition for spots this year, especially with all the boys coming in. So yeah, mate, that's a personal goal of mine, just to stay consistent in my training up until the first game and hopefully get a spot there. We haven't focused too much on last season, mate, to be honest. We've just been really focused on the last probably 7 weeks, as I've said. We just try to build a good foundation with the new boys that are coming to the club.
It's always tough to play across the ditch, but their round 5 encounter with the Phoenix is one the Jets believe they should have won. 7 weeks on, the Phoenix faced the difficult task of travelling on Christmas Day.
Last year I wasn't playing, so the silver lining of that was for me to spend more time in Christmas. But still going to be grateful because Wellington are travelling here on Christmas, so it could be worse. So it's still good to just be able to be with family.
Devante Clute has forced his way into Mark Jones's squad through hard work and perseverance. He's now a permanent and vital member of the Jets attack.
I feel good. I feel like I'm getting more comfortable in that role. It was new to me earlier this season, but the more I'm playing, the more I feel I'm more effective.
While the Jets men have begun to fire, the women have let several opportunities slip. They're now 6th and are in desperate need of a win.
I think we need this win. It's a huge win for us if we get it, and we have to. Trying to just focus on that one before we have the other opponents.
With a truckload of supplies and 250 volunteers at the ready, it was all hands on deck at Newcastle's carriage sheds. Come tomorrow, these chairs will be filled with a crowd of 1,000 people for the Samaritans' annual Christmas lunch.
We believe at the Samaritans it's about giving, it's about sharing, and certainly giving back and the dignity and the respect that everyone deserves. And no one should be alone on Christmas Day.
Volunteers spent the day adding the final touches and setting up the makeshift kitchen, complete with plenty of food and Christmas crackers. The jolly man in red himself is also expected to make an appearance to help deliver a mountain of gifts.
There's lots of giveaways throughout the day, and every single guest that comes along gets a gift on the day by Santa.
Meanwhile, it was also a hectic morning at the Newcastle Fishermen's Co-op with a last-minute rush for Christmas seafood.
3 to 4 tonne of prawns today. I'll probably do 2,000 dozen oysters and probably a tonne or tonne and a half of other seafood products.
But there was a clear favourite on the menu for many people's festive feast.
We've got 7 kilos of prawns and we've got 4 dozen oysters.
2 kilos of prawn.
Prawns, the standard Aussie Christmas prawns, some king prawns and school prawns.
Renee Feder, NBN News. For those attending Lake Macquarie beaches this summer, you can expect to see more of this. From tomorrow, council lifeguards will increase their patrols from 6 to 7 days a week.
Just being responsible for the welfare of the beachgoers. It is a busy time of the year. There's going to be plenty of people out there.
The service will run until January 29 at Redhead, Blacksmiths, Caves Beach and Catherine Hill Bay. For the first time, a lifeguard will also be stationed at Hams Beach, which has seen a number of rescues in recent years. With plenty of locals and visitors expected in the region, it's a welcome addition.
They will complement the numbers of volunteer surf lifesavers out there as well. So, look, additional eyes on the beach and the swimmers and a few extra people to help out with emergencies should they happen. I think it's a great initiative.
Already this summer, there have been several incidents at beaches across the Hunter.
We've had inexperienced people in the wave zone. They have had accidents and we've had a few spinal issues.
It's prompted a timely reminder from Surf Life Saving about the importance of water safety, and its message is simple.
To everybody, bathe between the flags. Always swim with a friend and only swim at patrolled beaches.
Renee Feder, NBN News.
Newcastle is exceeding expectations and defying gravity. Andrew Naboot showing off his freakish talent at training today. There's a relaxed feel in the Jets camp leading into their clash against Wellington, but not too relaxed.
Inform you. Oh, jeez.
That was close.
Have you got a message for your teammates after that?
Yeah, learn to kick with your left foot off. Jesus.
Another player on cloud nine, Steven Yagarkovic. He signed a new 2-year contract and will be at the club until the end of 2018.
It's a great early Christmas present. Sorting things out a few days before Christmas, so it just makes it a bit easier.
On interest from other A-League clubs, the 22-year-old says family in Sydney played a big part and he's loving his time in the Hunter.
On and off the field, the coaching staff have been great to me, and I'm close to home also. And I just think personally it's a place where I can develop.
Coach Mark Jones wants Yagarkovic to play a more attacking midfield role. He feels like he's found some form and wants to use the next 2 years to springboard him back to Europe.
Playing in the Champions League, that's my dream. So I want to work towards that and then hit some good form and hopefully put myself in contention for the Socceroos.
Meanwhile, injured import Alexander Coco wasn't afraid of using his head today. He's overcome a jaw injury and has been named in the Jets' 18-man squad, as has Lachlan Jackson. The squad now looking forward to a big turnout at home on Boxing Day.
We're looking for a good crowd and it's perfect day for football.
Like many families around the Hunter, Christmas Day started early in the Malloy household. A flurry of wrapping paper, 7-year-old April couldn't wait to see what the big man in red had left behind. Meanwhile in Newcastle, people of all ages gathered to mark the holy day at church services across the city. At Christchurch Cathedral, music filled the air, the religious meaning of Christmas ringing out for all to hear. Just down the road, the beach proved a popular spot to enjoy the sunshine, and of course it wouldn't be an Aussie Christmas without a spot of cricket. But by far the biggest crowd was at the city's Foreshore Park. The Samaritans served up a special festive lunch for around 1,000 people.
Today it's all about giving and sharing.
The day made possible thanks to donations and the work of 250 volunteers. Now in its 15th year, the annual event is bigger than ever.
We do have many that are homeless. We also have many that are less fortunate, but also we actually have some international guests here as well that are visiting our beautiful city and have nowhere else to go.
Ensuring everyone has a... Amanda Bennett, NBN News. Plenty of sales and plenty of people.
There were numbers out early, 7 o'clock for my opening and 8 a.m. for the centre. We'll be doing upwards of 80,000 people through the centre today.
Charlestown Square's newest shops proved the most popular there, and the bargains inside well worth the wait. But it was a little lonelier for those outside.
How long do you expect to be here for?
That's a very good question, yeah. No, don't know. We'll see how they go, but yeah, how long's a bit of string?
You look like the bag man.
Yeah, I'm holding a lot of bags actually, just but making good of the sales really, and yeah, but I've done well this morning.
It's the second year Newcastle shopping centres have been able to open on Boxing Day since the state government introduced new legislation last year, and demand for the festive shopping day remains high.
Our December has been absolutely huge. Our numbers are a record, so we're expecting to really eclipse any December before.
From clothes to electronics and even surfboards, Hunter residents made the most of what is the National Shopping Day.
Oh, definitely, yeah. If you've got nothing to do, if you haven't got a food hangover or anything like that, definitely.
Well, my daughter's down from Queensland and they don't get that kind of thing very much up there, so she wanted to hit it big time. So, yeah, we're here hitting it.
Georgina Smythe, NBN News.
It's long been one of the biggest days on Newcastle's racing calendar.
Oh, fantastic day. What a wonderful tradition. I think everybody getting together when they come home for Christmas the next day to see old mates and friends and families, just tremendous.
And this year proved no different. Despite a later than usual start, by mid-afternoon more than 5,000 people were trackside at Broadmeadow cheering the runners home.
have a few drinks and place a few bets.
I just won, so have a celebratory drink.
You won. What's the secret?
Oh, it's all about them vibes.
They weren't alone. The betting ring was packed.
Go 30 on the one in the next. First race and a winner is always a good start.
Newcastle Jockey Club ecstatic with how the day was received.
In New South Wales, this obviously holds a special place, and for a town the size of Newcastle, the response is incredible.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
A new year and a new look for Newcastle Courthouse. The $90 million facility opened in February, officially retiring the old courthouse, now destined for apartments. In that same month, the iconic waterfront complex Pelican Marina spectacularly collapsed into Lake Macquarie.
Walked down the stairs, and as I turned my back, there was the building crumpling.
The building was later torn down piece by piece. The $372 million redevelopment of Stockland Green Hills got underway in March. The shopping centre will double its footprint over the next 2 years. And it's now exactly 2 years since the New South Wales government cut Newcastle's heavy rail line, and the community was this year offered glimpses of its future uses.
We've done a lot of listening, we've done a lot of thinking, and now we come out with the product, the outcome of those conversations.
An artist's impression showcased in July revealed a network of walkways, greenery and mixed development ranging between 3 and 9 stories. Earlier this month, the state government and the University of Newcastle unveiled plans to build an education centre on 2 hectares at Honeysuckle, including part of the rail corridor. The Wickham Interchange also started taking shape, along with the University of Newcastle's new space campus. The unique building reached its highest point of 49 metres in September. It should be open by mid-next year. There were angry scenes in Cessnock in July when Cessnock Council approved a mosque in Buchanan. Bold designs for Newcastle's old post office building were sidelined in October, with the Baird government placing its owner, the Awabakal Land Council, into administration. Still in the CBD, and a 1.6 hectare site encompassing the old David Jones building was sold to a Sydney developer in November. Apartments continued to spring up across the city, and there are plenty more to come, including those along Honeysuckle, King Street, a mixed-use development at the former Newcastle Herald site and former Newcastle East Public School. Newcastle's V8 circuit was unveiled earlier this month, with the 2.6 kilometre circuit to capitalise on the city's assets when the supercars arrive in November next year. NBN could also be on the move, with the state government considering plans for a housing development on its Mosbri Crescent headquarters. The station is looking for new digs in the city. Still on the Hunters development wish list, the Glendale Interchange Stage 1 is almost complete, but the all-important bridge connecting the Cardiff industrial area is so far unfunded for another year. Georgina Smythe, NBN News.
Blake Spriggs has long been the Hunters' brightest racing prospect.
I just got to the races at Bega one day and they put me on a racehorse in the stalls, and I just said to Mum, I said, this is what I want to do.
And 2016 was the year he met the mark. It was a win on the now retired Sir John Hawkwood at the Metropolitan in October that helped lift him to a new level.
To win a Group 1 was just, it was almost bigger than the Melbourne Cup itself, because not many jockeys get to ride in a Group 1, let alone win one. And when he turned for home and skipped clear, I knew that he wasn't going to let a horse past him. He's very competitive, and I was smiling a long way from home.
In the weeks that followed, after years of toiling at regional tracks, Spriggs was given starts in the Caulfield and Melbourne Cups.
Oh, it was a dream come true. It's something that I've thought about, ever since I was about 5 or 6 years old, and it took a while to sink in what it actually achieved. And still now, when I see photos of it, it's hard to believe that it's actually happened.
He was back home today, but still hard at work, riding in every one of Newcastle's Boxing Day races.
You've got to make the most of the opportunities that are there in front of us.
That first Tuesday in November, still firmly on his mind.
You're riding against the best jockeys, the best horses, the best trainers, so you can't help but take things in and learn from it, and hopefully become a better rider. If anything, being there made me want to even get there, and win the race even more. It's something that once you get a taste of it, you just want more and more.
Up and about early, people headed to Newcastle Beach for a morning dip. The queue to get there about as long as the line for coffee, as many chose to have their brekkie beachside.
Bacon and egg rolls, definitely, and the coffee. We've got really good baristas, and coffee's going down a treat.
Nobby's was just as busy. The public holiday, a good chance to walk or swim off those Christmas kilos.
We swam yesterday, and today we just visit the city. We want to see the castle.
And after we go back this afternoon for take a swim.
Blackbutt Reserve proved the perfect spot for a family picnic as long as you were happy to share it with the locals. And of course, it wouldn't be the holidays without plenty of playtime. 2016 has been a record year for local tourism. 10 million people have visited the Hunter, injecting $2.3 billion into the economy.
It's the highest we've ever seen. It also was the highest revenue we've ever seen.
And 2017 is looking even better, with events like the supercars expected to boost Newcastle's global profile.
Over the next number of years, absolutely, Newcastle will be on the tip of everybody's lips, just like the rest of the region.
Amanda Bennett, NBN News.
The Hunter hit election mode early as redrawn electoral boundaries forced the retirement of 2 long-standing MPs. Member for Shortland Jill Hall called time on her 18-year federal career in February, making way for colleague Pat Conroy to contest the redrawn seat.
It's always tempting to put your name forward again, but I knew that it was the right time.
Then, in a shock announcement 2 months after announcing his election campaign, an emotional Bob Baldwin pulled out of the race for Patterson, saying he never intended to recontest.
I thank all of my constituents, all of my supporters for all of the help.
The Williamtown contamination scandal and impact of the proposed backpack attacks became key issues for the region. Opposition leader Bill Shorten stopped by Maitland in May to endorse political newcomer Meryl Swanson, as well as offer assistance to a little boy and mother after a head-on collision just metres from his press conference.
The best news is that no one has been seriously injured and everyone's okay.
There was even better news for Labor on election day, with Mrs Swanson returning Patterson to the party after 15 years in coalition hands. The seats of Newcastle, Hunter and Shortland remained in Labor hands. A political dogfight emerged in July when Premier Mike Baird announced a ban on greyhound racing following a damning report into systemic animal cruelty in the industry. The Hunters, trainers, breeders and enthusiasts mobilised over 3 months to fight the proposal. The discovery of skeletal remains near Raymond Terrace in August added fuel to the debate, while thousands of members of the industry took their plight to Sydney. Demonstrations turned to celebrations when Mike Baird announced a backflip on the policy in October.
We got it wrong. I got it wrong. The Cabinet got it wrong. And the government got it wrong.
The ICAC returned to the headlines mid-year as findings from Operation Spicer were handed down. 2 years on from the scandal, the report found 9 political figureheads from the Hunter and Central Coast acted with the intention of evading election funding laws. Former member for Charlestown Andrew Cornwall, who accepted $10,000 in a brown paper bag from Jeff McCloy, and his wife Samantha Brooks still face legal action after allegedly giving false or misleading evidence to the Commission. In local government, the threat of amalgamation still hangs over Dungog, Maitland, Newcastle and Port Stephens councils, with sweeping legal action taken to challenge the state government's Fit for the Future reforms. Declared financially fit, Lake Macquarie Council was able to hold elections, naming Labor councillor Kay Fraser as Jodie Harrison's successor.
It was a great result and I'm just so pleased.
In Cessnock, Bob Pinsent was returned to the mayoral office. Georgina Smythe, NBN News.
His first Christmas in Australia, Martin Lee was taking in the best of what Newcastle has to offer. A win, the only thing missing from his wish list.
Satisfied with, but it could be better. So I hope that in the next matches, more victories.
Nigel Bogard was testing his injured ankle this morning. He came from the pitch early in the second half. The extent of the damage is yet to be determined.
It's never good when he comes off injured, so hopefully it's nothing major, but yeah, we've coped with worse, so whatever happens, we'll move on.
That stability at the back is very important, so it was a blow for us at the start when he got injured. Hopefully this one won't take that long.
Just over half an hour into the clash, Wellington opened the scoring. Shortly after the halftime break, Morten Nordstrand served up a beautiful ball for Andrew Houle. But only minutes later, the Jets were again playing catch-up.
If we hadn't have conceded a goal in the second half, we'd have won the game.
Andrew Naboot scored the equaliser, his stunning right foot strike salvaging a draw.
Probably, we definitely deserved to win that game. And I think the same, it was a little bit like the Central Coast game we played here where we created numerous chances and I thought we had all the run of the play.
For John Demandel, this is the fruit of years of sacrifice.
It's 3 weeks now since we've done it, and it still feels overwhelming.
Together with his race partner or pilot, Paul McGlynn, 3.8 kilometres of swimming, 180 on the tandem bike and 42 of running ended in visually impaired world record time in Western Australia, 10 hours and 44 minutes, smashing the previous mark by almost 20 minutes.
On race day, we raced as one. This was my 15th Ironman, and going down the finish chute with John was just one of the best things I'd ever done.
When Paul put his hand up to help me, it was overwhelming that someone wanted to help me do a whole Ironman.
After training 20 hours a week for the past 6 months, the pair have certainly earned a rest, but they're not taking one yet. They've now set a new goal, the Kona Ironman, the sport's biggest stage.
Only the best get to Kona. Anyone who does Ironman triathlon, that's what they're trying to get to.
Unlike able-bodied athletes, John can't qualify to get there. Instead, he'll enter a ballot with around 300 others, with a lucky 5 selected to race in October. Given they'll only find out in April, John and Paul will race the Port Macquarie Ironman in May, with Hawaii firmly on their minds.
It's the ultimate triathlon experience.
To look out for one another, I think that's probably the big thing, whether it be around water or, driving or whatever, just to, take the time to do things right and look out for one another. The aircraft behind us is 30 years old. We're going to be operating state-of-the-art, brand new aircraft. They've been built in Italy and they're just an amazing aircraft to operate.
It's the busiest time of year, on the sand and in the water. And it's not just swimmers, shark sightings are up too.
Potentially the sharks have always been there, it's just in recent years we've become more aware of it.
The state government's shark strategy has now been rolled out in the Hunter, and Redhead Beach, known for sightings, has never had so much scrutiny. Its detection buoy has been picking up tag sharks in the area, while drone surveillance has also proven successful. This 3-metre great white was spotted early last Tuesday, just metres from surfers.
We've been able to notify our lifeguards on the beach pretty much immediately.
A shark spotting helicopter crew is now also performing daily patrols along the coast. Its sightings have forced the closures at Blacksmiths Beach this week.
It's not foolproof, but we do have plenty of eyes out there looking.
With both Swansea Channel and Moon Island a hotspot for marine life, it's no surprise the surveillance chopper has spotted so many sharks. But lifeguards say the decision to close beaches when that happens is no knee-jerk reaction.
We've got areas set up on each of our beaches, whereas if a shark's spotted within that area, we are on the side of caution and we close the beach and we have a search. We give it an hour's time and we reopen if the shark hasn't been seen.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
A new year, but no fresh start for residents in Williamtown still living with the fallout of the RAF base contamination. 2016 brought no significant change to what's been called the slow-moving disaster, despite red zone residents fighting for answers. September marked 1 year since the scandal was made public.
We feel numb to the situation, to Defence's complete, real lack of any substantial action.
After more than 1 year out of the water, the region's fishermen caught up in the contamination finally returned to the water in November after getting the all clear from the EPA. The Royal Commission into Institutional Responses to Child Sexual Abuse in the Anglican and Catholic Diocese heard from survivors in Newcastle. Over a few months, the Commission heard heartbreaking statements by victims and frustrating testimonies from those giving evidence.
I don't recall. I couldn't exactly recall, Your Honour. I don't recall, Your Honour.
5 protesters were forcibly removed from the CSL Melbourne in Newcastle Harbour in February after they and 11 others lost their jobs with the ship carrier.
I mean, really, I would think no Australian job or any Australian worker is safe now. I mean, job security has been thrown out the window with this.
In March, the Hunter farewelled decorated police officer Sergeant Jeffrey Richardson, who died on duty while responding to an alleged police chase. The toughest of men were brought to tears at Christchurch Cathedral. Mr. Richardson's son Patrick wore his dad's hat proudly.
To see him wearing his dad's hat is something that I think will probably stay with me all of my days, and I'm sure with most of the people that were in that church service.
April marked 1 year since an East Coast low unleashed its fury on the region. Dungog was the worst hit, unable to cope with the relentless downpour. The Williams River broke its banks, isolating the small town. But residents rallied, creating Project Bounce Forward, and 12 months on, the town is getting back on its feet.
When we think about all of the wonderful things that have happened in our community in the last 12 months, the love, the care, the support, we've come a really long way.
The Windale Rugby League community rallied behind injured player Damien Jobson after he sustained devastating spinal injuries in a tackle. There was more heartfelt support for the Punch family after son Dominic suffered a severe spinal cord injury in a second grade final in late 2015.
The community has been unbelievable, from my workplace, family and friends, my rugby club.
There was devastating news for more than 350 workers at Cardiff's Ingham factory after news the facility would close in August. The Newcastle running community also rallied together earlier this month to honour Jennifer Bates, who was fatally struck by a car in Wickham on her way to work. Georgina Smythe, NBN News.
They're certainly well earned, but the drinks just don't taste quite as sweet as they could have.
Definitely would have tasted a lot sweeter if they'd have been a Constitution dock.
Instead, it was heartbreak for the race's minnow, 72-year-old timber boat Freya, and her determined crew of 6, also in their 70s, were cruelly forced to retire, barely out of Sydney Harbour.
Part of the sail dipped into the water and it ripped to pieces. That's life, and I felt quite fatalistic about it.
But they will get there eventually. After a few repairs, the crew will set sail next month for Hobart in time to star at the city's Wooden Boat Festival, before potentially lining up for the big show once again.
The crew are keen.
Meanwhile, the Hunter can claim some success. Race winner Perpetual Loyal was repaired on our harbour in November.
Do we take that as a win for Newcastle?
I'd like to think so.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
2016 and the Newcastle Rugby League season got off to a flying start. Wests were red hot, unbeaten in the first 5 rounds. Souths were also in the mix. Then came a late charge by Macquarie, but by finals time it was the Lions with all the momentum. And a 21-12 premiership victory over the Scorpions. Newcastle rep side the Rebels took out the Country Championship, while in the Upper Hunter, Scone Thoroughbreds edged out Muswellbrook in a fiery Group 21 decider. Over in the NHRU, Hamilton looked every bit premiership material in 2016. Neck and neck with the Wanderers for most of the season, it set the scene for a mouth-watering grand final showdown. Once again, the Hawks were crowned kings. While the Wildfires missed out on the country title, losing to Illawarra. To football, and it was a breakout year for local NPL sides. For Edgeworth FC, it was a fairy tale. Led by Daniel McBreen, the Eagles were on fire, and come September, they were premiers. They also created history, advancing to the final 16 in the FFA Cup, and made it all the way to the National Premier League's grand final, going down 4-1 to Sydney United. Over in Black Diamond AFL, Newcastle City reigned supreme against Terrigal Avoca. The North Stars secured a second straight Australian Ice Hockey League title. In the Hunter Coast Premier League, Norths made it 8 in a row, while Australia claimed 2 goals at the Masters World Cup at Broadmeadow in May. Newcastle also hosted the State Netball Championships, our under-21s dominating, finishing undefeated. In the local comp, Tiffany Gilmore led Souths to their 3rd straight title. And in Newcastle District Cricket, Merewether made it 5 years of dominance, securing the 2015-16 title. Halfway through this season, it's again looking the goods.
At the end of the season, Muskie pulled me in and told me that, I wasn't going to be part of the plans, which, to be honest with you, I respected a lot. Not many coaches would tell you. They'd usually get someone else to do it.
Just 1 month into summer, and so far New South Wales beaches, waterways and pools have proved deadly.
Well, lifesaving is really fearful about the next couple of days with weather temperatures increasing and the New Year's Eve celebrations taking place.
Last summer, 14 Australian children under the age of 5 lost their lives in backyard pools. On Monday, a toddler died in hospital 1 week after she and her twin brother were pulled unconscious from their family's pool in Sydney. This year, the Royal Lifesaving Society has enlisted the help of celebrity chef Matt Preston to show how the smallest distraction can prove costly.
You need to keep them within an arm's reach, so we call active supervision. So to be active, you can't be going inside to do those simple little tasks, and it's simply not worth it. You can't put a cost on a child's life.
And what makes all the difference is getting children water aware from an early age.
The more confident children are in water, they're going to start to learn survival skills. So if they do get themselves into trouble, hopefully they'll be able to, swim to the side of the pool and latch on.
Emma Murphy, NBN News.
Welcome to Command Central, the eyes and ears of our waterways. Uninterrupted views from the Swansea Heads radio control base help marine rescue volunteers keep us safe on the water.
We man the base 24 hours per day. We monitor vessels going up and down the coast, also log local vessels ongoing out fishing if they wish to do so. Just generally keep an eye on the general public in the waterway.
With the mercury rising, so too is their workload, and it's not hard to see why. It's the lake's highway. All manner of craft carefully vying for position, most enjoying a peaceful day on the water, some of the bigger vessels struggling a little in the Swansea Channel.
We've had a number run aground on the sand. It may be a tidal issue.
Inlets like here at Swan Bay are a hotspot for a bit of standing up or laying down. And as thousands take to the water to beat the heat, the message is simple.
Be courteous to other boat users and, if possible, put life jackets on.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
Bulga's long-standing battle against the Mount Thorley Warkworth mine expansion entered its 6th year as residents withdrew their legal appeal against the project in March.
It's a big disappointment to us. We thought we had a pretty fair chance.
Community members even relocated to Sydney in August to draw attention to their fight. The future of the equally divisive Drayton South mine also hangs in the balance. It's currently before the Planning Assessment Commission. Hundreds of workers at the Anglo-American operation finished up this year, with the mine now on the market. Scone real estate agent Adam O'Regan was remembered as a proud family man and a passionate community member after he and 2 others lost their lives in an horrific crash in the Upper Hunter. It was standing room only as thousands turned out to farewell him in October.
God, we are going to miss him, but how lucky we were to have him.
The small town of Murrurundi got a commercial boost in February with the state government rezoning the main street from residential to mixed use. 2016 became the year Singleton's bat problem finally flew away. The Burdekin Park trees began coming down in May and some bats returned in November. Plans for Scone's much-awaited bypass crept ahead. Upper Hunter Shire Council is calling for more changes to the northern end and to emergency vehicle access.
It's a little bit different to the plan that they said they were going to put out, which disappointed us.
Meantime, Muswellbrook Council had to issue a please explain after the town's proposed bypass again missed out on federal funding. Calls for the Upper Hunter to become the state's beef capital were made in March, with plans submitted to the New South Wales government. The Hunter's wool capital, meanwhile, attracted thousands in June for the 26th annual Merriwar Festival of the Fleeces. Singleton and Cessnock councils joined forces to make Hermitage Road more user-friendly for wine country tourists. The Barrington Tops-based bid to boost Tasmanian devil numbers had a big baby boom this year, with one of the Ark's devils also giving birth to 4 babies on the Apple Isle. And we also met Murrundi's Ray King, holder of Australia's largest collection of collections, memorably his thousands of salt and pepper shakers.
A lot of people are surprised at the sheer variation in them. They just don't realise there are so many.
Georgina Smythe, NBN News.
The Jets have spoken at length about becoming more clinical in front of goal, and it may be fresh blood that brings that killer punch.
Make sure that we get players that come in that are better than what we've got, and it's pointless making change for the sake of change. You have to make sure it's the right fit. It needs to be a good athlete, someone that hasn't got a very extensive injury history, as you're well aware. It needs to be a good footballer, and they need to be available.
Morton Nordstrand provided spark against Wellington and could be promoted to the starting 11.
Yeah, I think he's nearly at that point. He did an extremely good job in the second half, as you saw, and got us well and truly back in the game.
But Jones wants more from his visa players, including Alexander Coco, who's been out injured.
We need them to be a valuable part of the team, and they need to score goals. We need to get something from Coco. He's a big player, and we need for him to show us that.
The victory sweltered last night, and the Jets did likewise today. Nigel Bogard was a notable absentee and is in doubt to take the field in Geelong on Monday night.
It's a 50-50, that one. He's got a little bit of nerve damage, so hopefully he'll be right for the weekend.
A huge year for our sailors. Lake Macquarie's Will Ryan took silver with teammate Matt Belcher in the 470 class in Rio, and then gold at the World Cup in Melbourne.
Pretty physical, but happy to get away with the win.
Ian Jensen and Nathan Outeridge again produced the goods, silver in the 49er class at the Games to remain the pride of Wanji. Thomas Fraser-Holmes starred in the pool, while following Rio, Simon Orchard's time with the Kookaburras looks to be over after missing the 2017 squad. Emily Van Egmond and Chloe Lagazzo put in strong performances for the Matildas, and on the court, Katie Ray Ebsery made her Olympic debut, but veteran Susie Batkovic was cut despite red-hot form for the Townsville Fire. Gloucester's Damien Martin was picked for the Boomers, but the biggest story basketball-wise was former Hunter product Ben Simmons becoming the NBA's #1 draft pick. At 41, marathon runner Scott Westcott made his Olympic debut.
I had a blast, achieved my life goal. So, yeah, and got the Olympic rings to prove it.
Hunter triathlete Aaron Royal had a breakout year, and Spencer Turren had a crack at gold in the coxless pairs, while there was even more success at the Paralympics. Madison Elliott powered home to win 2 golds and 2 silvers. Kurt Fernley was at his inspirational best at his last Games, finishing with a silver and a bronze.
You know, they're the tough days, and they're the ones that I'm proud of.
While veteran Christy Dawes returned home with a silver from her 6th Games. Kurt Gidley made it to the Super League final with the Warrington Wolves, and Andrew Dote hit the form of his life. Top 3 finishers in the Hong Kong and Australian Opens.